Oh, you damn right. House divided on a Thursday. The bad news is fairly obvious at the beginning. No Jeff Ketchum today. Life comes at you. Something's going on in the Ketchum house. We hope everybody is good. Ketchum's dealing with some stuff today, and he'd already told me that he's going to miss tomorrow as well. So for all you folks that have wanted to hear me try to complete a thought, these next 2 days are for you. I'm Chad Hastings, and the next 2 days, we're going to get fun as hell on House Divided because we're going to get you each half of Football with Friends. A little Cody Carpentier tomorrow. That means it's Alex Dunlap today. Those guys were nice enough to step up and say, hey, we'll come talk some shop with you. I appreciate it. Alex, how are you, sir?
No, doing great, man. Just hopping in here on the noon slot, and definitely feels a little bit different than the evening one.
During the daylight hours and stuff like that. Dinner has not been consumed yet. You know what it is? You don't have all that Texas Beef Traders beef that's pleasantly sitting in your stomach. That's what it is.
Oh well, that is never the case, Chad. It's like, not to get us off topic to start, but man, I grew up. Man. Whenever I was growing up, we didn't start eating dinner until like after Roseanne was over during like Designing Women. If that,
Oh,
if so, I always
wow.
grew up. We didn't
Okay.
eat till like 9 when I was a kid, and so
Yep.
that's kind of still how we eat these days.
Now, when you guys were growing up, was that meal referred to as supper or dinner?
Well, it depends on if you're at grandma's house or whether you were at home with the
Right.
parents.
My mom still says supper to this
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
That we were raised as supper people when it's that meal. By the way, Tom G, we have no evidence that Catch is playing hijack poker. It could be true. It could be true. And shout out to Texas Card House and hijackpoker.com. Yes, it is a great way for you to, to jump in and maybe play against Jeff Ketchum. It might happen. It might happen. Hijackpoker.com. Put that app on any device you want. You can deposit and cash out at any of the 6 Texas Card House locations. And there are other easy ways to deposit money once you get it on there. So check it out. Catch is playing all the time, including during this show. So make sure you get that done. Alex Dunlap has played, and I don't know, Alex, you might be playing during the show today. Can you confirm or deny that you're playing hijack poker right now?
No, I'll deny it. I'm trying
Okay.
to. Yeah.
Look at you. Look at you focusing on the actual show. How
There
about
we
that?
go. Yeah, man.
That's exciting. All right. If you guys want to jump in the chat, you can do that. Look at Cody Carpentier. Dinner ends at like 4:30 to 5. Wow. Okay. Cody's on the early side of dinner. There you go. We got people telling us when they're eating dinner. We are off to a wild start today on a Thursday. Alex, one thing I wanted to get into for people that want to check it out, orangebloods.com this week. And again, we made you this great QR code, that one in the lower left. It is the easiest way to sign up for orangebloods.com that's ever been invented. Just scan the code, you're in. So get signed up. You know you've always wanted to do it. And all the great content is there, including Alex this week decided to take a look at the depth chart, kind of updated depth chart discussion with some injury talk among the pass catchers, but also with portal time coming. And I read through that a couple times. Alex, I thought it was some good stuff, and we could get into it a little bit today. Since we did the modcast, the Jordan Washington story happened, where he's getting an MRI on a shoulder, took a weird fall, maybe not a weird fall, but a football fall on a shoulder, and they're having to look at it. So in terms of the pass catching discussion, let's go through it a little bit here. I know you've talked about, I'm sure you've talked about all these guys from time to time, but let's start with the roommate, Parker Livingstone, a guy that, he's roommates with Arch. He's gotten some talk already. This is just going to give him even more opportunity. Livingstone right now for you, starting at a position, starting at Z, would that be accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's obviously a, what's the word I'm trying to look for here? It's like it's a product of kind of a couple things, But it's not only because of the fact that the depth chart's a little bit depleted right now. DeAndre Moore plays at the slot wide receiver. Wingo plays the X wide receiver. And even if those two guys were healthy, Parker Livingstone would be starting at the Z wide receiver. People forget, man, that, I'd heard from somebody that they had done, I don't want to get the numbers. I can just look at the text here. Like whenever they did their testing the other week where they were doing their miles per hour stuff, and I don't know whether it was a 40 or a 60 or how they do it, but he tested as like the third or the fourth fastest guy on the whole entire team, Parker Livingstone. People forget about him, that he's a size speed weapon. Now, only about 194, 6'3", 194. He's number 13. So 6'4", 194 is what he's listed as. But as far as his speed, I think 6'4", you could call him a size speed weapon, even though he's 194, a little bit thinner, not a giant, like hulking guy, but tall, fast, catches everything that comes his way. Somebody who I think a lot of people just forgot about due to his injury his senior season in high school. But it's like, we can't forget. So he was, he's been clocking in between 22 and 23 miles per hour.
Wow.
And that would be third or fourth out of 125 players that they tested is what I have on this text here from a source. So
that's flying.
That would equate to 4.3 ish.
Yeah.
For
a 6'4" receiver.
Right. Well, it's hard to know exactly, because say like on the 40, I think Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden got up to near 24 miles per hour during their runs at the combine. Both those guys were clocked in at just under 4.4, but it's kind of with Bond. It was interesting, the difference between the 10-yard splits with those guys. They were right there. I think it was like 151 and 149 for the 10-yard splits. So I have trouble kind of figuring out how Bond got up to technically a higher miles per hour than Golden did, a better 10-yard split than Golden had, but then runs, a whole tenth of a second slower than he did. So it doesn't always equate exactly to the 40 is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think that running between 22, 23 miles per hour, your top speed gets you somewhere there, sub 4.4, maybe not a 4.30. So fast, catches everything that's thrown his way. Already has the good built-in connection with Arch Manning. People forget that like Arch Manning was the backup quarterback last year. He was throwing to the backup wide receivers in practice. So it's like, so they have that. They're always working out together. And to start camp, and then from everything we've heard, to start camp, he's out there clearly running ahead of Aaron Butler. It was Khalil Lockett behind them, of course, the superstar freshman, and over at the X spot, that was Wingo. That was Jamie French behind Wingo, and Michael Terry behind him. And I don't know right now how things are going to shape up, right? It's like, do they take Aaron Butler and maybe move him over there to that other side? We've heard stuff with maybe they take Michael Terry, get him a little bit more involved in the slot. That was some stuff that they were at least doing on Saturday that I had heard from practice.
Right. I feel like from the discussion around recruiting and the style of receiver, Terry feels like the guy that could be a little more versatile of that group.
Well, I mean, you're talking about it. Didn't he a guy that like rushed for 1,000 yards last season?
Right. and every time we had a discussion, I felt like it was, is he a receiver or could he be a tight end? Could he be like a freaky tight end?
That's how he was recruited. Just get started. Remember, Chad? Yeah. It was Jeff Banks all over him saying like, "You're our next JT Sanders."
Exactly.
So that all kind of morphed. It's like, now we're playing him we're playing him now at wide receiver, but it's like, you have to squint too hard to imagine, them getting into a rough spot with the running game like they got into with some of those Georgia games and stuff like that. Have some kind of package where you get Michael Terry back there. It's like you're kind of, the way that like Arthur Smith used Cordero Patterson as his kind of bizarro Derrick Henry after he left Tennessee. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you could kind of see something like that with Michael Terry. So yeah, super versatile. He's got a lot in his bag. I think interesting to think about him in the slot. But since we haven't been allowed out at a practice and haven't gotten too much information since the stuff with Wingo about how the rotations are actually working, I find myself thinking, I'm like, well, what are they doing now with, you figured Dalen McCutcheon, we've heard a lot about him. He's doing well in the slot. We've heard that people, say that they've been really impressed by his toughness and his just general makeup. A guy that only weighs 174 pounds at 5'11", just fearless across the middle. A lot of the same, just kind of the same way that Jay Witt was, and the same way that DeAndre Moore was. I think they recruit an archetype under Chris Jackson at that slot wide receiver role.
So what you're hearing right now is McCutcheon right now is running one at the slot.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
for sure. But the thing was behind him that it was just three walk-ons without DeAndre Moore out there. So I think that maybe this stuff with Terry, it's like if he's playing more in the slot, does that mean that Butler or Lockett could move over there to the other side and maybe pick up some of those reps where now Wingo is missing them? I just think that would be that it presents a slight issue, because you think to yourself, all right, they have 8 guys on scholarship who are here right now. 2 of them are your 2 most experienced. And it's weird to say that Wingo is one of the most experienced, but he just is, right? As a true sophomore. Moore is out. You really gonna have that at that X spot? It's just gonna be all freshmen. I guess this is all to say. It's like you asked about Livingstone. It's a long, winding way of saying it feels like out of everybody right now that's out there, he's the most kind of set and secure in his role.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. South End Zone Queen had an interesting question for you before we move too far away from the text about speed. South End Zone Queen says, who was clocked faster than Livingstone? Do we know that answer?
Oh, I don't.
Okay.
I have some guesses. I mean, that was a text where I was asking specifically questions about Livingstone, and so
okay, I got you.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was provided I was provided the exhaustive list. I have guesses.
Yeah,
I would guess Aaron Butler was probably one of those guys that was a little bit faster. That guy is fast.
Yeah, I would guess the other's got to be Trevor Gooseby, right? He's running. No, it's probably not him.
He can do everything else.
Yes, he can do it all. I don't know if I don't think he's quite that freaky. Yeah. Good question though, South End Zone Queen. At some point, I'm sure Alex will have that information. So keep checking out Football with Friends for that. Thank you, S. Roan, for reminding everybody to like the video and subscribe. If you can do both of those right now, that'd be awesome. If you don't have the ability to like during the show, make sure you like on the way out. That is always a way you can do it. And Money B, yes, Dunlap with the surprise HD appearance. It's true, Money B.
It was surprising even to me. It was surprising to me and Chad too. Right?
Well, this is the extra reason I'm going to thank Alex is the situation comes up. I find out as I'm sitting down in the dentist chair to get a cleaning and check everything out. I'm finding out that Catch can't be on the show. So I'm trying to, oh man. But then by the time I get done and I'm getting out of the chair, Alex has already jumped into the chat and said, hey, by the way, I'm good if you need me. And I'm like, I will take you up on that. So I appreciate him being available. Sometimes it comes at you quick. Again, Catch dealing with some family stuff.
That's great because I'm dealing with the family stuff tonight too. And we can't do Football with Friends. And
see, so right? Yeah. There it is. Last night on The Outsiders, Alex Bo Edge all of a sudden had a flooded laundry room like 20 minutes before the show. His washing machine floods part of his house. And he's like, guys, I can't do, so it happens. It does.
Did it mess up any flooring?
I have not gotten the update on that. By the time he told us they were able to get things shop vac and get the water contained, it doesn't sound like there was a lot of major damage. But I have not gotten the full update today. So that does happen. We know everybody's dealing with a lot of stuff. So we titled the show "Work the Problem" today because that's what Texas is dealing with. Thankfully, it seems to be minor kind of injuries with these pass catchers, but now you got to deal with it. And Alex, you mentioned it. It's Arch Manning and it's young guys.
It could be serendipitous. It's like, because it's not like you're having to, you're not having to sweat a major injury to either of those dudes, right?
Yeah.
It's like
And,
they're holding them out of an abundance of caution. We talked about it on the modcast. It's like you don't want to it's you don't want to deal with the soft tissue stuff.
yeah.
And
And you don't,
you don't want to, in DeAndre Moore's case, you don't want to mess with the foot stuff. It's just
right.
like, so just give them the time off. They've said that this is more of an OTA style of thing, man. They can be out there, they can be getting mental reps, but it's like, you got these guys. We have Chris Jackson yesterday telling Booby Feaster that his recruiting pitch now is like, I got my young guys, I got my studs. We're gonna roll with these guys that we recruit. We're not gonna live in the portal. Kind of echoing what Sark has said before about, we're gonna get in the portal. We're gonna be competitive there, but we're not gonna major in it. With the wide receivers, that had been something that they had kind of done, and something that had been used in recruiting against Texas to a slight degree with some of the younger stud wide receivers at times whenever people would be recruiting against Texas. And Booby Feaster, the thing that really stood out to me about his quotes yesterday to Sam Spiegelman of Rivals and the article he put up from the fallout from all the visitors from this weekend at Texas, it's up on Orange Bloods, is that Chris Jackson had told him that he's trying to stay out of the portal, and so in so doing, you have a situation where this spring, it's like these guys have 11 more practice, 10 more practices now.
Is that a realistic thing to be telling a recruit, Alex? You want to stay out of the portal?
Well, he said that we don't want to. Let me read the exact quote. It was, let's see, was the stuff about, gosh, man, there's so much content up on Orange Bloods here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the,
I mean, you said not majoring in it. So maybe he's trying to balance it out between, hey, we'll pay attention to the portal when we need to. We're just not going to freak out and go get 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, it was, gosh, I'm trying to find it. There's so much that's been posted since yesterday when Spiegelman put that up. But no, it's like, it was the main thing that stuck out to me about it was him saying that it was like something like he's gonna stay out of the portal. It was something like that. Like that's what he's telling Booby Feaster. And so if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna change your model, because that really hasn't been the model, since he's gotten here. He's gotten Adonai Mitchell, who he's brought along.
Sure.
He's had Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, who he's brought along, all this stuff. This will be the first time that Chris Jackson is like gone out, evaluated his young studs, gotten his young studs, true, legit 5-star studs. Like this is Ohio State kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're going to be telling Booby Feaster, it's like, all right, we're going to continue this for 2027. Cody's watching, and he just sent me the article. Thank you, Cody. Exactly what he said here. If you're going to be going up to 2027 and saying, look, man, we want to continue this new way of, doing things where it's just a little bit different than what it had been, It's like, this is a kind of a good way. This is a good proving ground for these guys to come in and like, they're going to get a bunch of extra development. Once they get in for fall camp, they're going to be that much farther ahead. And look, is it the most optimal to not have Wingo and to not have DeAndre Moore? I mean, I get that's, you probably have your opinions on that. I have my opinions on that. I don't necessarily think it's optimal, but if you're just looking for the glass half full version, man, like you got these guys, these are young 5-star studs, and they're going to have their opportunities to establish a pecking order and say, like, all right, after 10 practices, what do we have here with these dudes? The quote was, I like what, and this is from Booby Feaster, the stud number 3 wide receiver in the 2027 class from DeSoto that reclassified recently from, the 2026 wide receiver from DeSoto that reclassified from 2027.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he's in this year's recruiting class. And, he said, I like what Texas has going on over there. I like the culture there. I love Coach Jackson. He's a hard coach, and he has a young wide receiver room, and he's trying to keep out of the portal. And so you asked earlier, is that smart to say it? Do you think it's smart?
It's an interesting way to say that. I what I'm wondering is, are there certain catchphrases you're going to give a badass recruit versus the kind of stuff you're going to end up saying to a possible portal guy coming up, trying to keep out of the portal. It's just an interesting way to phrase it.
Well, they're not going to keep out of the portal in this spring. They've said since February that they're going to take a slot wide receiver in the portal. But I just think this stuff about going out and I don't think they need, I think that they can stick with that plan. Ketchum disagrees with me on this. He said so in my column yesterday. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But I just like, what are you going to do? Like, what kind of, I said this on Football with Friends yesterday. And like, I don't know if you ever thought about this, but it's like, it's the way that you're going to build in this new era. It's like, you want to be like Oregon's been these last few years, where you go out and you go get a Bo Nix and you go get a Dylan Gabriel and you go get, just
right,
one after the other.
Well, I love the theory, and I always kind of hook it to Saban, but for saying it and doing it. But I love this era where, the whole, if you're good enough, you're old enough kind of a thing, where we watch freshmen really pop. A guy like Ryan Williams, obviously Smith at Ohio State. I think back to ETN at Clemson, that was part of, I think, one of the national title teams as a freshman. But I love stuff like that. When a freshman's good enough, we've watched freshmen and redshirt freshmen win Heismans in the last, 10 to 15 years. Like, if you're good, you're good. I get that. It's just a matter of, do you need to maybe mix in a little more experience than they would have right now?
But Chad, it's like,
that's the only thing.
Experience where? At Purdue?
Well, I mean, that's fair.
Is it part of the whole culture thing? Isn't the whole thing in Texas is like looking up to this guy who understands the way that we do things here? Somebody who understands the standard is the standard. Somebody who I can look up to, and I can, I can mirror my movements and the things that I do sort of around what he does, because this is a guy that's got his what together, and he's been here a while, and so like, but not all experience, especially in the realm of culture that Sark talks so much about, and developing his culture and everything like that. You bring in some dude from Georgia Tech that had 800 yards and 5 touchdowns last year, and he's probably not going to be as talented as Jamie French or Khalil Lockett or 5 stars like Michael Terry. Right. What exactly does he bring to the table?
Right. It's that balance though between, last year Texas went and got a guy that had played at Houston, that had played pretty well against them, but the numbers that Golden put up at Houston, they were pretty good. They weren't like eye-popping, knock you out kind of good, but they're pretty good. And then he shows up and ends up being the guy that he was. And so it's the balance of something like that. And then to your point of, these are 5-star badasses for a reason. And if they come in and they show you that, and they show you badass freshman potential, don't you need to just just develop it and get out of the way?
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's like you said it just now. It's like Matthew Golden, he wildly outperformed expectations. He just did. Mm-hmm. But I think what the saga of Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, and Silas Bolden last year taught us, with them bringing in 3 wide receivers, I think is twofold. One, it had to do with looking back, we should have known that what they had at wide receiver at the time, as far as their younger reserves or their kind of what they had in the pipe, they didn't see them as being as talented as what they have right now. Clearly, right. They've shown us that by their actions. Like, they can't lie to us. Well, and whatever they're actually giving out offers and paying $900,000 to Isaiah Bond, it's like that kind of stuff that happened.
And remember, and also the gap difference, I think, is really important to bring up here. Take out the injuries for Moore and Wingo, but when you look at last year, the number they had with Jonte Cook, it was, and this is before we realized what Jonte Cook actually was for Texas.
Well, that's the second point.
He had 8 catches coming into last year, and 6 of them were from Quinn. That was the most they had. When you look at what Wingo and Moore have been able to do, you're up at 30 to 40 catches per. I mean, they've actually been able to put some numbers up, and you can project that moving forward. So That to me is a good argument for you don't need to go that crazy in the portal like you did last year.
That's the second piece of the two-pronged argument. The second piece is they knew Jonte Cook was Jonte Cook, and we just didn't.
Yeah, you're right. Both of those things at the same time. That's a great point. Like it's extreme in two ways. It was extreme in the football realm, and it ended up being extreme in the can we even count on this dude?
Yeah.
Realm. Like it's two different parts of it.
Yeah.
Our man Oscar rather jumps in with a $10 super chat.
Thank you for the super chat, Oscar.
What's up, Oscar? If you have to recruit over 5
soon to be very, very rich. Is he a doctor yet?
Who, Oscar?
It feels like we've been doing these shows like 3 years now. Has it been 3 years or 2 years now?
He's on his way. We'll be August will be 2 years for Orange Bloods Live.
Okay, gosh, man, it feels like dog years around here doing a show every day.
Right.
But Oscar's been in med school for a couple years now, man. Soon he's gonna be rolling in the dough.
Come on, Dr. Oscar. Take care of us when you do that. If you have to recruit over 5-star wide receivers every single year because you're worried about their on-field performance, there's a problem. Oscar, I get it. I get what you're saying, but it's the balance of, what is it? What does the math of this mean in terms of trying to be one of the best teams out there? Let me get this other one, Alex, and I'll let you comment. South End Zone Queen says, I agree with Alex. Why would 5 stars come here to get recruited over? Other schools are using that as negative recruiting against us. Ohio State doesn't bring in a bunch of portal wide receivers every year. But I think to the point we just made, Alex, I don't think the idea is that Texas will do it every year. Last year was a special circumstance where they maybe felt like they needed to do that because they didn't have enough coming back, and B, youth they could count on.
Yeah, but it's different this year.
Right.
You got your studs, man. You got some horses, dude. Like this is what you want. Like I don't see why fans are getting in my the fans are getting in my column saying I'm crazy for saying interior offensive line should be a bigger target in the portal. If you still want to go get one slot wide receiver, you said it the whole time, go get a slot wide receiver. You probably need depth there, right? Although Dalen McCutcheon, I feel like, is sort of shown through this spring from what we're hearing so far that, the slot wide receiver, he's only going to be playing 40 to 45% of snaps anyway, just because that they run 12 personnel between 50 and 55% of the time on those sets. The slot wide receiver goes out. It's like there's not much what snap percentage can DeAndre Moore really give up to a backup slot as it is? But regardless of all that, they've said that they wanted to get depth at slot. So go out and get depth at slot. That would be somebody coming in that would know that they're depth. But I don't get it. People are like, well, you can't win a championship with if you're going to be playing a Jamie French, 5-star awesome freshman, or, and to that I say, well, he might only be like a 30% snap guy. Maybe it's like Wingo is the 85% snap dude like Golden was last year. The next guy down was Isaiah Bond. Now I know he was hurt, but he only played 50% of snaps last season.
Yeah. Alex, I'm thinking of the champs from last year. We all know there was a stud freshman for Ohio State, but that's not all they had, right? Because Egbuka and what's his name? Is it Tate?
Carnell Tate. And that was another guy. It's like Carnell Tate will come in this year. It's like he was like a number 1 guy in the class too, but he kind of, you play him, you bring him along, you always bring in.
But all those guys weren't freshmen, right? Egbuka's headed to the draft, isn't he?
Well, yeah, and Emeka Egbuka actually stayed for 4 years.
Right. So you had
out after last season.
So there was some experience there. The experience right now for Texas, if they don't do anything, is Moore. Right? It's Moore. Moore's got the most experience, and then it's Livingstone and Butler.
Well, no.
In terms of guys they'll really count on?
Well, Wingo, right?
Right. Well, I'm sorry, Wingo, right. Wingo, true sophomore. Yeah.
Yeah. But with actual playing time last year. I mean, Wingo played almost as many snaps as Isaiah Bond last season. So if you just have Wingo as your outside guy this year that moves from like a 50% snap percentage to like a Matthew Goldenish 75% snap percentage, right? Then you have you basically, if it mirrors last season, which we're not sure it will, but if it's something like that, you have the two other guys with outside roles, like say it's like the Bond and the Wingo from last year. Well, that would be then the Livingstone and the French / Lockett / Aaron Butler / Michael Terry, right? And then you're going to have DeAndre Moore in the slot. He's going to be playing 45% of snaps, just like he always does. And then what you have to figure out is like, okay, we have about 40% total of snaps left for the rest of these guys that basically take up the 25% snap share of a Silas Bolden, the 13% snap share of a Jonte Cook, and like the 3% snap share last year of a Parker Livingstone. And so you take that, you're like, can we get these guys, a couple of the freshmen, 20% snap share, something like? It's not like you're tossing these guys a giant workload onto their plates. And I think to myself, I'm like, you can't win a championship like that. And I'm like, well, dude, I know that Ohio State last year, yes, they had great wide receivers. But think about the college football playoff. Or think about the SEC champion. Think about Georgia. Arian Smith was their number one wide receiver. That guy stinks.
Yeah, that group of theirs was kind of a mess, and they were still.
Think about Notre Dame. Yeah. Think about Penn State. Those teams would kill for this group of young stuff. These are elite young recruits.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know what? I think the comment that you mentioned about Chris Jackson might be something to revisit here. If you guys want to throw us a chat, feel free to do that. We got a good Alan. I see a good chat from you. If you guys want to throw us a super chat, it'll go right to the top of the list. Real quick, before we get back into this discussion, let's talk about one of my favorite places on earth, since we do this show around lunchtime. Although this won't be a lunchtime shot. A little Hayes City Store. There you go. There's the nighttime at Hayes City Store. Get on out there for the great concerts. They'll let you know when they're coming, but man, get out there for the great food and drink. It is so great out there, especially this time of year when you get the awesome spring weather. Make your plans, get that reservation, because you see those people? They all know. That was on a Sunday night. So it's a place that does fill up pretty quickly. Make sure you get a reservation, but you're going to love every bit of it. I'll tell you again about those pork chops. The grilled pork chop, awesome. The blackened pork chop, awesome. Might be a tad better, maybe. But then the other one is the chicken fried pork chop. They're all awesome. Get the side of their cream gravy with all three. You will not be disappointed. Their cream gravy is damn near worth the trip all by itself. Hayes City Store. Go check them out in Driftwood. Tell Travis, Tamara, and the crew that we said hello here at Orange Bloods Live. They are big Longhorn folks. Travis and that crew really ready for the season to get going. Alan threw us a chat, and then I wanted to circle back to something you mentioned, Alex. Says it's good to have all these young studs at wide receiver, but in reality, how many of them are going to be a Jeremiah Smith? That's kind of unfair. How many of them are going to be an experienced Golden or an AD Mitchell, or going to be, Golden or AD Mitchell? Yeah. So Alan kind of hitting both sides of it there, right? A really talented freshman, but also a couple of guys that were in the portal. But Alex, back to your comment about Chris Jackson. This is interesting because I know how much you're into the process of football itself and practice and going through this. I mean, we are in spring practice now, but we are not yet to the portal opening. That doesn't happen until April 15th. If Chris Jackson is saying to Booby Feaster some version of, man, we're going to try to avoid the portal. We're going to try to stay out of the portal. However he phrased it.
Yeah.
Deep down, I wonder, are Sark and Jackson sitting around talking about this issue and thinking, okay, we know what we think these injuries are. Let's take a look at these next 2 weeks and see what we think about Arch and these guys. And if at the end of that time, we all nod and say, you know what? I trust these guys. And we know we're getting more back, and we know we're getting Wingo back. We're good, like you said, with maybe one trip into a portal discussion for a slot. Are they taking these next 2 weeks to really make that choice, to really assess what they've got with Arch and these young guys?
Next 3 weeks, right? Isn't it 3? We got 3 more weeks, don't we?
Right, you're right. Technically 3 weeks, but I'm saying until the portal opens, you're at like 2
okay.
weeks.
Okay. It's 3,
right?
3 weeks of practice. That's weird. There's gonna be practices when the portal's open.
Yeah, the portal will open and close. The portal opens on the 15th, closes on the 25th. By the way, this is another thing they need to change schedule-wise in terms of NIL stuff and portal. But yeah, you've got this time period to really take a look. I wonder how seriously they're looking at it. And I don't know.
They've certainly had those conversations. I think Sark has conversations about everything. It's like he's a little bit of a taskmaster. He's kind of he's one of these Sark's one of these guys, for better or for worse. I kind of think it's for better. It's like he kind of feels like he wants his finger on the pulse of everything.
Yeah.
This is spring football. This is evaluation time. Of course. This is what this is. Like what you just described, Chad, is the same for every team. Like that's spring football. That's what you do.
Right.
It's like you say, what do we have here?
Yeah. Let me do the extreme version. Is it possible that they see enough where somebody in a meeting would say, fellas, let's look we don't need to worry about receivers in the portal. McCutcheon looks great. And we know what we've got coming back. Once he's healthy, we know what we've got in the slot. And McCutcheon looks fine. Looks like he could absolutely carry it if we needed him to. We don't need a receiver in the portal.
Well, especially if they're getting Terry slot snaps. I think absolutely. In some ways, I'm anchored to the idea that they're going with a slot wide receiver because a really, really good source told me back in February. It's like, in the spring window, we're getting a slot wide receiver. You can put that in pen. So I'm kind of anchored to it. But do I think that maybe through the course of this, that McCutcheon could look good enough to where it's like, dude, if something were to happen to Moore, we could have him. I guess maybe the only thing you would think with that is like, okay, on the other side of that equation with the outside receivers, we know no matter what happens, even if they brought in some other portal guy, and like I always say about this spring portal window, it's changing and it's evolving, and it might not be like this year. It could change as soon as this year, but I always kind of say it's the dented can aisle. It's the island of misfit toys. It's like it's the guys who they got through spring and like. Why aren't you at your other program? Is it a you issue? Is it an issue with it?
Right.
Was it a mutual breakup? Were you behind on the depth chart? You need to look into that kind of stuff, right? It's like what happened during spring, other than us getting on the phone with your agent and saying, "Hey, we got an extra $1 million sitting here. Any chance you might want to, hop in the portal?" Right? If it's not a situation like that, then you're going into this spring portal not only having these possible issues to deal with, but the other thing that always worries me about this spring portal is the inflationary cycle that it brings along, because it comes at a point in time for these teams that have just gotten done with their spring, as you just described it, Chad. This is in a complete evaluation time. This is not going out and winning football games. This is finding out what we have for the fall. And these teams right now are in the throes of possible panic, worry, concern that make them more desperate. And not only are they more desperate, and not only is this at top of mind right now, because you just got done seeing this group of wide receivers that trips over their own shoelaces the whole time, and there's no way that you can go to war with them. And I'm not saying that was what happening at Texas. I'm not. But picture a scenario like that, right? Mm-hmm. What better time for a mediocre wide receiver to jump in the portal whenever there's not as many that jump in the portal? And there's like one guy that everybody has their focus on. It's the Dominic Williams from OU last year. We talked about it on the modcast.
Yeah,
there's just one of them out there.
And to take your analogy a step further, the dented can aisle, because of the money that's about to be out there with this court decision, much like the Dominic Williams thing, you're going to find like teams that are willing to spend way more than you think they should on a dented can of green beans or a dented can of peaches. It's like, wait a minute, you're going to spend that on that? That's what it's been. Let's see if it stays in that kind of area where it's the Dominic Williams type of player, or do we see, to your point, do we see a bit of a different attack plan from the players and the agents,
which is well within the realm of possible. This is the Wild West, Jack.
To where you could feel it happening, like about April 15th, 16th, 17th. You go, oh, these type of guys are getting in the portal in this spring. That could be a different story altogether.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for jumping in the chat. We got some good chats on this. And Oscar, look at Dr. Oscar. $10 super chat. Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you, Oscar.
We can't say we lack experience every year at wide receiver and then bring in people to take their jobs because we get squirmish. I like squirmish to throw them out there to gain that experience. Oscar, it sounds like that's what
squirmish is like a mixture of is like squirmy and squeamish.
A little squirmish, yeah.
I
mean, that is it. He's laying out that balance perfectly, and that's what Texas is going to have to try to figure out. And it's weird, Alex. I brought up the question to Ketch the other day, and maybe to you guys on the modcast, but these injuries that feel like, and we certainly hope that they're more on the minor side. Do they really change the number of guys you'll get in the portal? I keep wondering that part. And I just want, like, you're telling me if you got a message, if you got a source telling you in February, slot receiver, write it down in ink.
Yeah.
Well, did anything that's happened if you had responded with, well, what if DeAndre Moore gets a minor, he's the foot, right? A minor foot injury. Like, would the response have been, I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about. It's going to be one slot guy no matter what. I just wonder if any of this has really changed it, or are the coaches out there watching us and others cover it just laughing, thinking they really think this changes it for us. Nothing's changed. We still have the same plan in place.
Well, I don't know their exact line of thinking with all of them. I just know that it just feels like if you needed a wide receiver and it was something where you were super worried about it and stuff like that, why didn't you go get one in the same way? Why did you not attack it why are you waiting for the secondary market, right? Like, that's the market where you go to when you've learned something and you're a little bit freaked out, for one. And for two, if you were to go address this right now, Ryan Wingo has a little hamstring that kind of flared up.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Moore has a foot that they're just taking it super careful with. It's like going out and, I think the idea of going out and getting two wide receivers is, and I said it in my column, it's kind of it feels like a more permanent solution to a more temporary problem. It's like it's a temporary issue.
Right. That might be going a little too far. Right. And because right now it does feel temporary. And then, the other part in terms of keeping it with the pass catching, Jordan Washington, so far, we have not heard a result on that MRI. But Alex, it's also fair to say I haven't heard any of you guys talk about sourcing with extra worry, sourcing with another layer on it, like, oh, it didn't look good, or any of that stuff. I haven't heard any of that stuff yet. The Jordan Washington one also feels minor at this point. Would that be a fair assessment?
I need to look into it more, man. I think I heard something, I forgot it was on text or what it was, saying that might have had something to do with the Trey Moore collision, which is interesting. We got Trey Moore's new role at outside linebacker,
okay,
covering tight ends.
Interesting.
But if that was the case, I would imagine that would mean they were in good on good whenever they were in the stadium. So that means Washington was starting. I guess that's just something I'm stream of consciousness there. But I don't know. I feel like that there would have been somebody say, oh, that really didn't look great.
Right. Yeah. It It doesn't
Right.
feel that way. And I do want to get your thoughts on the tight end situation in a second. Brandon threw in a good chat though. Says I do agree the young bulls should get some run. If they don't perform, then hit the portal. And again, Brandon, it's kind of all of it at once, right? They get to look at all of this at the same time. If it's in their mind, yeah, we may get a portal guy. Then maybe, Alex, the way to think about it is the slightly panicked version would be if it ends up as a 2 or 3 guys in the portal. Well, that'll tell us the young guys didn't step up, right?
I think it would be I would be flabbergasted if that happened.
Right. But if it stayed,
you would have to have some. I mean, you'd have to have some takeaways.
Yeah. If it stays at 1, it would tell you, okay, French is French, McCutcheon's McCutcheon.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are fitting
in. Lockett's Lockett, Livingstone's Livingstone.
Yeah, and these injuries are what they think they are. All of that, right? And because that's the other thing that I didn't mention earlier. We haven't discussed that. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, what also happens? DeAndre Moore and Ryan Wingo rehab. All of that is going on, and they're going to be checking in on them just like they're checking in on their other guys with injuries to see where that's coming. And if in 2.5 to 3 weeks, one of those guys takes a downturn, it's a different story. But if both of those injuries still feel like they felt at first, maybe it is, maybe it is something that it is let the young bulls go, as Brandon is saying. All right, if you guys want to throw a chat in or a super chat, feel free. Alex, give me a thought on the tight end situation. When you, again, did the breakdown, check out orangebloods.com. There's your QR code down there in the lower left. Easiest way to sign up for orangebloods.com. Get it done. Get signed up. Talk to me about Spencer Shannon and what you're hearing so far. How confident are you in Spencer Shannon as a sophomore, I believe? True sophomore, right?
Is he true sophomore? Or is he redshirt sophomore?
Maybe a redshirt sophomore? I may have that wrong.
Let me look and see. Spencer Shannon is a is he a soft? I don't know if is he a redshirt? I think he might. Yes, he's a redshirt sophomore.
Redshirt sophomore. Okay, my bad. Yes, redshirt sophomore. So 1 more year of experience there, maybe even better. What is it? Because I saw some early reporting, in practice when you guys were kind of making comments about Spencer Shannon. What's been your reaction so far?
Well, I think he looks good. I think it's just like eyeball test off the hoof. I think he looks bigger. I think he looks like more of an alpha. He certainly is the one who leads that group from drill to drill. He looks like the guy that's kind of the most involved, active, first man. He looks like he's the tight end 1. Now, of course, Texas always has 2 tight ends. But last year, I would venture to say it's like, Gunnar Helm, was the tight end 1. Juan Davis was the tight end 2, right? But they played different positions, right? They both play tight end, but one is more of a inline tight end, one is more of a move tight end. And I don't know if they call those guys Fs and Ys or what they call them there at Texas, but you can just, the way that an easy way to think about it would just be like, who's the Gronk and who's the Aaron Hernandez, right? Which one's the guy that lines up on the line of scrimmage and is attached to the line of scrimmage and lines up like an old school tight end with his hand in the dirt, right? And which is the guy that's always like the sniffer or the H-back or stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and a little more flexed out, a little more versatile.
Yeah, they kind of move around. They go in motion. They're in a 2-point stance most of the time instead of a 3-point stance. They go out in the slot, stuff like that.
For you, is Shannon the second that second guy or the first guy?
No, out of everybody on the team last year, he was by far used the most in an inline role. And so last year, Gunnar Helm was inline for 45% of snaps. He was split out for 16.5% of snaps, and he was at H-back for 40% of his snaps. So out of the top 2 tight ends, you had Juan Davis. So let's just compare Juan Davis and Gunnar Helm, okay? Gunnar Helm last year, 45% of snaps inside. Juan Davis, 0.7% of snaps. He was never an inline tight end ever. Split out. Gunnar Helm last year, 17% of snaps. Juan Davis, 9% of snaps. So that's in the slot, basically.
Right.
At H-back last year, Gunnar, and that's what we talked about earlier, that sniffer, fullback looking player.
Off the line a little bit. Yeah.
Lead blocker. This is the guy that on the split zone and on the zone slice concepts comes across from the motion of the zone that takes out the backside end man on the line of scrimmage. That's 91% of snaps for Juan Davis last year. 38% of snaps for Gunnar Helm. So last year, Gunnar Helm was the inline guy. Juan Davis was the H-back guy. Let's look last year at Jordan Washington and Spencer Shannon. Spencer Shannon played 65% of his snaps in line.
Wow.
So that's more than Gunnar Helm. He only played 45. Okay. Spencer Shannon played only one snap out wide. So hardly ever. And he played basically the other 35% of his snaps at H-back. So 65-35. Jordan Washington last year, he only played 27 snaps, but he played 0 snaps in line. And he played 93% of his snaps at H-back. So this is Spencer Shannon is the Gunnar Helm. Jordan Washington's the Juan Davis. That's how those two archetypes. That's the kind of those are the labels that we'll put on them as far as the archetypes that we've seen under Jeff Banks. It's very, very clear as far as their usage that Spencer Shannon would be used in more of the Gunnar Helm type of role. And clearly he's ahead of guys like Will Randall. He's clearly ahead of a guy like Amari Winston that just got on campus. They'll have Nick Townsend. He'll be here in the summertime.
Young guy, yeah.
But presumably Jordan Washington will be, better by then. Now, will Spencer Shannon to me looks big. He looks good. I noticed this year he's got all tatted up with sleeves attached. Maybe that makes him look tougher. I don't know.
There you go.
But you know what I'm saying? But like it's
you know what that means, Alex? He can deal with pain. That's what it means. He's tough enough to deal with all the pain.
Right. I guess that's true. That's what I was telling my kids.
I'm not tough enough for that.
They're like, Dad, did those tattoos hurt to get? I'm like, you have no idea how bad these tattoos hurt. It was the most miserable experience of my life, and I'm tough. This is but just trying to keep them out of the whole tattoo.
Keep them away.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, though, I don't know how good Spencer Shannon is, and I think that you'd be crazy to think if there was a experienced portal tight end, I think might actually make. I think it makes more sense than a receiver. But I think Shannon looks good, and I think last year I had no idea that Gunnar Helm was going to be Gunnar Helm. So I'm open to Spencer Shannon being good. I'm worried about the depth behind him. That Will Randall has you assume he's got a connection with Arch Manning. Those guys came to college together from the same high school.
I was going to say that was the high school tight end, right? We've been talking about the roommate in Livingstone. This is the high school tight end in Will Randall.
Yeah. And then you just got the true freshman guys. And we've seen that Texas has taken a kind of bring them in and develop them kind of even when they go out and get guys you think are going to be instant impact, like the Amari Nyblacks of the world. It's like, you got to get in and you got to get some work in the system. So, but I think that the outlook for Spencer Shannon's going to have opportunity. I think he looks good, looks big, looks like an alpha, put on good weight, big through the shoulders, big through the arms. Tall. What is he? 6'7"?
6'7" twice. Yeah, 6'7", 251.
He's a big. Like he looks like the tight end one, man. He's a big dude. Good looking player.
Sounds like it's going to be hard to overthrow Shannon and Livingstone. Sounds like those two guys will be tough to overthrow. Taller, definitely on the taller side.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah. I don't think I certainly wouldn't want to be in a Spencer Shannon throwing contest.
That would be tough. All right, we're going to get this a little bit of buy or sell before we wrap up. But first, let's thank Specs. Thanks to those of you that have jumped in the Specs chat, up over 400 of you in there right now. We do appreciate it. Here's Lisa from Specs reminding you to get all stocked up.
At Specs, it doesn't cost a lot to turn a good time into a great time, especially if you like saving money. From connoisseur collectors to aficionados of ale, you'll find bubbly bliss at any budget with a Texas-sized selection of world-class wines, rare spirits, craft beers, and more. So when you're getting ready for a good time, Specs is ready to make it great. Because at Specs, the fun starts here.
Shout Specs, low priced, amazing. Here's to you, shout, cheers to saving.
All right. House divided on this Thursday. Again, Jeff Ketchum dealing with some family stuff today. We hope everything's cool in the Ketchum house. We hope you are doing well. Thanks to Alex Dunlap for jumping in. Alex, before we wrap up, I did whip up a quick buy or sell round for you. Are you ready?
Was this buy or sell made for Ketchum? Where you're going to be asking me stuff about pop culture? Okay, all right.
Well, now okay.
Okay.
Hold on. It was not made for Jeff Ketchum specifically.
Okay.
There are a couple that might feel a little more Ketchumish.
Some kind of Cyndi Lauper question or something like that.
No Cyndi Lauper, I promise you on that one.
Right.
There is a weird trivia question in here, but we'll see on that. First, let's go right to the discussion we've been having. Let's go Texas football. In fact, all three of these first ones are going to be Texas football. Buy or sell number one, the freshman wide receiver with the most catches by the end of September will be Jamie French. Buy or sell?
What's the schedule? Let me look. I should have it memorized.
You got Ohio State, of course, and then you've got some livable games in September. If they get to pimp walk September, if they can beat them in Columbus, because it's all winnable stuff throughout September.
The question you need to ask yourself is, okay, so they have San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston.
Mm-hmm. And an off week,
before,
of course.
Dude, before then having an off week, but then having to go to, is that the Swamp, Florida? I
Correct.
still don't have it all quite down. Just
that is the Swamp. Florida is the Swamp. Just think
what
of
is, what is LSU? That's pretty swampy too.
Is that Death Valley? Death Valley is what yes, that's Death Valley.
Very, very swampy there, though.
It is swampy. Oh, very swampy. Yes, different kind of swampy though.
Yeah. Well, the question is really, it's like with San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston, you figure. I think that Jamie French would be my guess. The question is, how soon do backups get in these games?
Right.
And then
see, that's why I just made it September, because of the math you're doing right now.
Yeah. In the case of backups, I think that Jamie French would have to stay in the game, because you would want to. I'm projecting Jamie French to be the freshman, and this could be so wrong, but as of now, based on what I've seen, I think he looks a little more polished. I'm projecting him to be the freshman that maybe is the most productive as a true freshman.
All right. There you go.
But I don't necessarily think it's like when all the starters get pulled, you would pull Jamie French.
Okay.
So yeah. So the freshman with the most catches by the end of September will be French. I buy.
Okay. Buying that on Jamie French. All right. Buy or sell number two to today's discussion. Your gut today says one tight end and one wide receiver in the portal for UT. And it could be other positions too, but I'm saying just these two. We'll just focus here. One tight end, one wide receiver. Buy or sell?
I think that's probably right, but for some reason my gut doesn't say that they take a tight end.
Really? Okay. Well,
I think they probably should. But
okay.
Have you heard much about it?
Hadn't been a ton of talk. Obviously, back in the winter section, it was the kid out of Purdue?
Oh, there was the Purdue guy.
It ended up at Ohio State.
There was interest there. Yeah, I forgot the Purdue guy.
He ends up at Ohio State. If that guy ends up looking good this year, that's
one. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and buy. I'm going to go. That's enough for me to buy, because I kind of think that they should. But I'm just like, what evidence have they given us?
Yeah. They looked at that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the draft, Alex. Buy or sell number 3. Banks, Golden, Barron, and Quinn will all be drafted by the end of day 2. Buy or sell?
The first 3 will be drafted by the end of the Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's a lock. That's a buy.
Okay, so by the end of the 3rd round, you think Quinn's gone for sure?
Yeah, I think Quinn will go in Quinn. I think Quinn's landing zone is anywhere from. You want to hear? Do you want to hear the exact landing zone? Let me tell you exactly where it starts. So it starts at 45 to Indianapolis.
Okay, so starts in the second round for you.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then all the way to we get 102. Oh gosh, all these comp picks have been added in. So Minnesota, Miami, New York
sandwich picks.
Giants, San Francisco Rams. Yeah, and then like he's not getting past the Rams comp pick at 101.
Okay, 45 to 101.
Yep.
Gotcha. Interesting. And then just real quick, 3 quarterbacks in the first round. You buying this Jackson Dart stuff in the first round? You like that idea?
Yeah. Jackson Dart will go in the first round.
Okay. So 3 guys total. Ward, Sanders, and him, you think will all go in the first?
Yeah, and I think Shadur now is going to, I think Shadur is going to fall.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot of discussion about him and how weird the tape is to try to break down on Shadur Sanders. All right, 2 wacky ones to finish with, Alex. These are the ones that'll feel more catch me to you. Buy or sell number 4, the person who has hosted SNL the most times has a birthday today. You can name them. 17 times this person has hosted SNL. You can tell me who it is.
Can you give me? Can I ask a question for a hint?
You can ask a question.
Is it an ex-cast member?
It is not.
Oh.
It is not.
Trying to think of who's that big enough star, who's not an ex-cast member that's been on there enough. I'm sure that this person has some kind of thing that he or she does every time they're on there. There's some kind of solidified role that they have.
Yep. You're definitely working your way towards it. Let's go through this. Over the last, say, 2 or 3 political cycles, who would you want to have someone imitate on the show on SNL these last, I don't know, 8 to 12 years?
You want somebody to imitate Trump.
There you go. He is a guy that did that. They've got a guy that does it now regularly on cast, but
it's not Gillis.
No. This is a guy that did it back back before they found the cast member.
I'm not sure I know that guy's name. I can picture his face. I was going to guess Arnold Schwarzenegger maybe. But that isn't. I'll bet you he's been on a bunch.
Arnold has been on I don't know his number though.
What's that guy's name? It's the guy that does what is his name?
The guy who's hosted SNL the most is Alec Baldwin.
Oh, Baldwin. Okay, I forgot he did Trump. I'm thinking of the other guy that does him.
Right, because they have a cast member now. I can't remember that dude's name. He's got 3 names, and he does a really good Trump. But remember, before that, there was this run where Alec Baldwin would show up and do him a lot, and then sometimes they just let him host. So he's at 17. Steve Martin is at 16 when it comes to hosting SNL.
Now is Alec Baldwin in jail?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I thought he might have, because there was the issue where where he unintentionally fired the gun during the shooting of that movie.
Oh, I don't.
Was that not Eric? Was that not Alec Baldwin? I'm sorry if it wasn't, man. I don't know much about. I thought that was Baldwin though.
I don't know. I saw a reality show commercial the other day for something called The Baldwins, where he's in this reality show. So I don't know, but I don't know how recent that is. So
all right, fair enough.
You go. Now that's some breaking news if we had it there. So happy birthday to Alec Baldwin today. By the way, he is 67 years old. The other birthday, Alex, is Eddie Murphy. He's 64 today. Your favorite Eddie movie is Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh,
buy or sell. And I'll let you have Raw. I'll let you have Raw for free. Raw and Delirious don't count as movies in this discussion. We'll let you have those for free. This is a movie thing. So your favorite movie would be Beverly Hills Cop.
It's really, I mean, it's got it's a 3. It's like, is it Golden Child? Is it?
Oh. I do love Golden Child. I love that you said Golden Child out loud. Some would say that's blasphemy, but not me. I love the Golden Child.
Well, I think what are most people going to say? Coming to America?
I would assume you got Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America. There are some people that really dig Harlem Nights. I guess there's probably Nutty Professor people out there.
No, I've never seen Harlem Nights.
That right? It's pretty good.
Axel Foley, man. Axel F. Dun, 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 dun. But then you got, I mean, Oh.
I did not think I was going to get you to give me a little Axel F instrumental. That was fantastic. Now I'm so glad I came up with this one. Didn't see that
I
coming.
think Beverly Hills Cop's better than Coming to America.
Okay.
But
That's your battle. I get your,
this is like the what's that book, like Sophie's Choice? Like everybody's got to choose between their kids.
we're
But, like,
splitting hairs.
Those are both like movies that I like. My big sister would just turn on and we would watch like all summer long. Like so,
Yep.
it's just
That it is a tough. You bring up the right battle for me too. Like in the way we grew up, when I grew up, those two movies. Because I would tell anybody that hasn't seen them to rush to watch them.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I love. Like we were so excited to show my daughter both of them. I couldn't wait to show her Beverly Hills Cop. I couldn't wait to show her Coming to America. But to this day, I've never made her pick between the two. I've never made her tell me what she likes better. But I don't know. The reason I phrased it this way is I think I would land on Beverly Hills Cop because it was my first experience with Eddie. Like it happened before Coming to America. But man, they're both so good.
It's so many, right? And just like, and with that one there, and with Beverly Hills Cop, there's it's the same with Coming to America, but there's just so many so many other like associated characters that aren't even that big of a character in the like the Bronson Pinchot show and stuff. Like, there are these people who you like, that person was such an awesome supporting character in the movie. And I think that I think Axel Foley. I think it's got to be Axel Foley. It's
There
like,
you go.
it's just, but really hard. That's no shading against Coming to America.
And look
Have you guys catch this one before?
I've not asked. I don't think I've asked Catch this one. No,
You'll send him into an outright panic attack.
Yeah, he'll freak out. Yeah, we'll have to find that out. I do love that Serge also got a mention today. Shout out to Bronson Pinchot and Serge. You want with the lemon twist? If it's not too much trouble.
Do you know what?
Don't be stupid.
Do you know what he does now, Chad? I go on these. I like every day. I spend like an hour 20 a day, like hiking around the hills and stuff. And so I'm always listening to audiobooks. And Bronson Pinchot is a prolific voice actor for audiobooks.
Is that right?
Yeah, dude, but he's
That's
like
cool.
He's one of these guys that gets the really high budget ones where he has to do all these different, because I read a bunch of like listen to a bunch of like spy novels and espionage and counterintelligence and stuff like that. So it's a bunch of times where they got like, the bad guys always over in Russia or, and
he gets all the voice
like Turkmenistan. And he has these accents just dialed, man. So he's a really gifted.
I could
really
totally see that.
Yeah,
that's good stuff. All right, well, Eddie Murphy talk. 64 for Eddie Murphy today on his birthday. All right, I don't see any super chats right now. Alex, anything else we need to mention before we get out of here? Any other intel you have for the people on Arch and the young receivers getting to know one another?
I think we've said it all. We've even gotten to the point where we're talking about Balky Bartakamos and cousin Larry Appleton. So it's like, I think we've run the gamut, brother.
Oh my God. Now you're making Perfect Strangers references. That is fantastic. I watched the hell out of that show.
Yeah.
I watched that show a lot. And for Texas Boy, if this is your answer, Texas Boy, we need to get you some more Eddie Murphy movies. Like, come on. Vampire in Brooklyn cannot be the answer. If you're just throwing it out, that's one thing, but come on. Let's have a man's discussion. All right. Thank you all for jumping in. And again, all the best to Ketchum and his family. He's dealing with some family stuff today and tomorrow. He'll be back on Monday. Tomorrow, the other half of Football with Friends is going to jump in, Mr. Cody Carpentier. And I want to dig into some behind enemy lines with him. He's had some good intel on Oklahoma and A&M this week for you Longhorn fans. We'll dig into some of that tomorrow. Here we go.
I hate to cut you off as you're leaving here, but yeah.
Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin in the Naked Gun remake. Wow. ATX Bates. Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin in the Naked Gun remake.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's a very good casting choice.
I mean, I'm going to sell Bates because they shouldn't do it. Right? Like I'm not saying Liam Neeson couldn't maybe be funny, but why? This goes back to like when they decided they were going to make a movie about fighting in a roadhouse, and they were going to cast Ronda Rousey, and they were going to call it Roadhouse. You don't need to do that. Just call it anything else, but don't actually remake a movie like this. If you want to make a movie where Liam Neeson plays like a funny cop, do that. Don't call it Naked Gun. Please be respectful to what that was and who Leslie Nielsen is and was and will always be. He's Frank Drebin. Liam Neeson doesn't get to play him ever. That's
He's a little
stupid.
too hard. He's a little too hardcore, man.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Now, like when Liam Neeson, when they did the A-Team movie, it was okay to me. But even though that was a movie of a TV show, watching Liam Neeson try to play the character that George Papard pretty much perfected just made me mad. It made me more mad than it made me entertained. So don't mess with Frank Drebin. Please, please don't mess with Frank Drebin. Thank you, ATX Bates, for upsetting us to finish the show. There you go. He plays Drebin's son. Oh, God. All right. Yet, what could go wrong? What possibly could go wrong? All right. So, quick note, if you didn't catch it on Football with Friends yesterday, no Football with Friends this evening. So, getting you a little taste of Alex today and Cody tomorrow. You guys do have a Friday show, is that right? Or
yeah, early. I think we're going to start that one at like 5:30 and just do a 30-minute show leading up to tip off for the women's hoops game.
Beautiful. Yeah. Women's Final Four will be at 6:00 on Friday evening. So no Football with Friends this evening as we talk to you on a Thursday. Old fashioned tomorrow morning with Anwar at 9 a.m. And again, Cody Carpentier joins me tomorrow for House Divided. We'll hit a little bit of behind enemy lines stuff. The latest with Oklahoma, A&M. Will the Aggies actually be able to find a basketball coach? Does anybody want the job? Maybe Cody's hearing something about that. We'll jump into that tomorrow. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. If you didn't like on the way in, please like it on the way out. It does help us. We do appreciate your support. Y'all have a good Thursday. Thanks again to Alex for jumping in. This is House Divided and Orange Bloods Live. Y'all take care.